My name is Karlyn Borysenko, and you're listening to the Actively Unwoke podcast. As always, you can access archives of this podcast as well as find links to subscribe on Apple and Spotify and Google and all of the other platforms over on activelyunwoke.com/podcast. And while you're there, you can pick up a copy of my book, Actively Unwoke, the ultimate guide for fighting back against the woke insanity in your life. Well, for today's episode, it might sound a little similar to an episode that I did, I believe, 2 episodes ago, in which I answered the question that Moms for Liberty asked about what we need to do to fix the educational system in America. But I really want to put a fine point on this issue, because this issue has been going on for a solid year now, and I think it's really detrimental to what we are all trying to achieve. So I wrote this article last night for my Actively Unwoke Substack. You can find that at Karlyn, Karlyn, .substack.com. And it's titled, Please Stop with the Book Banning. This is a war of attrition. You have to fight smarter than this. And I'm going to read this article. And it might be a little bit of a rant. And so if you aren't in the mood for a ranty podcast, this might not be the particular episode for you. But I do believe these points are really important. And I really do think that until people start listening and start adapting the strategies that they're using to fight back against the woke left, we're playing right into their hands. And so I'm going to read this article. There are some images in this article that I'm going to need to describe to you. You can see those images on the article itself on the Substack if you want. And then I might do a little bit more commentary at the end. I know what you're going to say. We're not banning books. We're restricting age-inappropriate materials. That's not the same as banning books. Stop saying we're banning books. You leftists don't care about the children. Yes, that's what you're going to say. Please don't deny it. See, the thing is, I've had this conversation repeatedly for the last year. Ever since Moms for Liberty first found their way onto CNN talking about how they wanted to ban perfectly fine books from the curriculum. And then there's a video linked to a video on my channel that I did called A Major Unforced Error in the Anti-CRT Fight. Moms in Tennessee try to ban books. You can find that video today on my channel. I told you that this was an unforced error and it would be used against us forever. And it was. And it has been. And it was completely unnecessary. I did a spy stream today. That would have been October 25th, 2022. I did a spy stream today on a progressive activist training where half of it was using the book bans to fear monger their base. But those books shouldn't be in our schools. Why do you want to teach sex? You're a groomer. Yes, you're going to say all those things. I've heard them all a million times. Here's the thing. Just because you can doesn't mean you should. Should those books be in school? No. But what are you achieving by getting one book out of the school? Or 2 or 10? Because they are just going to replace them with different books that say the same thing in different ways. Or different lesson plans that they don't want to deliver in the form of a book, but rather in the form of something they download off the internet. The point is, this is a fire hose that you can't keep up with in that way. You get one, they'll replace it with 3 more. You'll constantly be chasing your tail, and they'll get more creative about how they're hiding it from you. They'll keep repeating until they wear you out and you just stop trying. This is a war of attrition. The first side to give up loses. The woke left knows this, so they go out of their way to make every part of the process difficult until you lose interest and move on to the next thing the news cycle tells you to care about. Remember, critical race theory is still in schools everywhere. The news just doesn't cover it as much anymore. And I promise you, you are not even preventing your little darlings from reading the books you're getting pulled from the libraries anyway. If anything, you're making them more likely to read them. Do you seriously think the teachers that are fighting to teach those books aren't going to make sure your children absolutely know that you got that book banned? And isn't it awful that they don't want you to read it? Your kids will be hiding those banned books under their mattresses the same way kids used to hide Playboys. They're going to wonder, what's the big deal? Why don't they want me to see this? And they're going to find the book and they're going to read it on their own, and probably a whole lot more closely than if they had found it by accident at the school library. Do kids even go to libraries anymore? Can't they find all the material they need online? You've made it the forbidden fruit. Do you think they aren't going to go for it? Did you learn nothing from your Bibles? But more importantly, books are a distraction. The other day, I did a live investigation of the San Francisco Unified School District. You can find that investigation on my channel. Here are some slides from a presentation we found from the school district showing which topics would be taught at different grade levels and flat out saying that parents cannot opt out of these lessons. These slides say that parents can opt out of lessons on sexually transmitted diseases, but parents cannot opt out of lessons on gender identity. The first slide says, Health Ed. What topics are covered at each grade level? In elementary, grade 3, changing bodies, grade 4, growing and changing, grade 5, puberty and HIV. Middle school, grade 6, puberty, grade 7 through 8, sex ed. High school, grade 9 through 12, sex ed. And then at all grade levels, I'm going to say this again, at all grade levels in the San Francisco Unified School District. Safe touch, HIV, boundaries and consent, LGBTQ+, gender and family, and diversity. What can families opt out of? Parents can opt out of content, not people. In the San Francisco Unified School District, that parents can opt out of lessons on contraceptive or sexually transmitted diseases. But they cannot opt out of lessons on gender identity and sexual orientation. And then the final slide I show says, discussing LGBTQ plus history, gender identity and expression, read alouds with LGBTQ plus characters, or celebrating Pride Month are not included in things families can opt out of. Do you get it? I hate to be the bearer of bad news, but the problem is far deeper than a few books with cartoons having sex. Yes, I agree those books are problematic. However, what is more problematic is the fact that these lessons are required by school policy and that parents cannot opt out of them. The books are a symptom of a significantly bigger and more complex problem. And every second you spend trying to ban books that you don't like for whatever reason is a second that you don't spend on a much deeper problem. The books will change when the policies change. The policies will change when the administration changes. The administration will change when the community demands it. The community will demand it when we win the culture. You're working on the least significant step in the process when you're focusing on banning books. You're also doing it out of order. So every quote unquote win will simply be undone. This is a battle of attrition. They're trying to wear you out. Stop making it so damn easy for them and focus on things that actually matter. That's the end of the article. Sorry, not sorry. I talked about this the other day, but the books are the easy thing. But they're not the correct thing. They're not the thing that's going to win the culture. They're not the thing that's going to change hearts and minds. You're just going to piss people off, and your kids are going to read the books anyway. Again, I hate to be the bearer of bad news. I know that there are a lot of parents out there who don't want to hear what I'm telling you. But the reason you don't want to hear it is not because you believe that I'm trying to groom your kids and I'm trying to trick you, even though that's what you might say. The reason you don't want to hear this is because you know I'm right. Is because I'm telling you, don't focus on the easy thing that is going to win you nothing. You have to do the hard thing. And most parents don't want to do the hard thing. They don't want to investigate the schools. They don't want to read the documents. They don't want to send the FOIA requests. They just want to focus on just getting that one book out of the library, and they really convince themselves that if they just get that one book out of the library that it's going to fix everything, when in fact it fixes nothing. But it makes that parent feel better. And then that parent has already turned their brain off when the librarian just replaces that one book that you just got out of the library with 3 more books that just came out last week. And you don't know about those books yet because they were just released, and they're not going to, and the librarian sure as heck ain't going to tell you. Why would the librarian communicate that information to you? You made their life difficult. You just got one of their favorite books banned. Why on earth would they tell you that they're replacing it? This is a fight that you cannot win. And again, to make a really fine point of it, I'm not necessarily suggesting that I think that kids that age should be reading those books. I am suggesting that there is a much bigger problem that needs to be solved. And every time you focus your energy on the wrong problems, that takes energy away from focusing on the right problems. I understand that there are so many of you that are overwhelmed with the enormity of this task. But being overwhelmed with the enormity of the task is not a good enough reason to focus on the wrong things, because you're just sucking your own energy. A war of attrition means that the goal of the enemy is to get the other side to give up and go home. It's not about defeating them, because there is no end to this war. It will never end. We will not win in our lifetime. We all need to start wrapping our heads around this. This is not a war where there will be a clear-cut winner and loser someday. The way this war is won is by getting the other side to give up. That's what they're trying to do. They're trying to make you give up. That is why they have you focused on the books and chasing your tail, focused on the books. They want you to wear yourself out on the books. You guys focusing on book bans is the biggest gift that you have ever given to the progressive left ever, because it is an unwinnable battle. For every book you ban, they will write 5 more and replace them. And then you'll spend all your time going after their books. And then they'll write 5 more for each one of those you get banned. You have got yourself on the receiving end of a never-ending fire hose. The only way that you stop getting hit in the face with water is if you take yourself out of the line of fire and you focus on something else. They want you focused on the books, because when you're focused on the books, they're changing the policy. They're doing the teacher training. They're the ones that are training the administrators. They're the ones who are writing the school handbooks. They're the ones going to the school board meetings. They're the ones running for the school board. All while you're focused on the distraction, because they know it's going to wear you out, and they know you're never going to win that way. Because say you get every book banned out of the school that you don't like ever. Let's just contemplate that reality, even though it's unrealistic. Say you get every book banned out of the school ever. The teachers are just going to print the lessons off the internet. They're going to go to places like Glisten and Seekis, which are progressive organizations that have been infusing these ideologies into schools since, well, decades ago. I think Seekis is like 50 years old. Glisten's a little younger. They're just going to print their lesson plans off the internet. Do you really think they need books to teach these things? You've got to start playing smarter than this. I'm trying to give you the tough love you need. But if you walk away from listening to this podcast and all you do is go, she's a groomer, she's a leftist, she's trying to trick us, which, yes, a lot of you do. You're the one that's going to ultimately end up losing, man. I don't have kids in the schools, but a lot of you do. If you want to focus on the bullshit that doesn't matter, that's your business, but your children are going to be the ones that suffer for your mistakes. And you had someone telling you what you were doing wrong, and you chose to insult the person telling you what you were doing wrong, then listen and consider the advice and look at the larger landscape and make better choices. This is a war of attrition. The first side to give up loses. Stop wasting your energy on things that don't matter. Focus on the things that do. I will teach you which things matter in the course of this fight. I will teach you how you can make the most progress. I will show you the direction. I will help you do it. But if you're insisting on reeing and insulting people who tell you to stop banning books, then you're no use to me. You're no use to us because you're just going to wear yourself out. And that is the tough love that you need. You get in the way and it's a distraction. If you want to change your behavior, welcome aboard, man. We need as many people as possible focusing on the things that matter. But as long as you're focusing on distractions, you are a tool of the woke left and nothing more. That's the tough love you need to hear. Every day is a new chance to make a decision, a different decision. You can change what you're focusing on, but you have to make the choice to do so. All right, that's all I got, guys. We'll see you next time.